figure out what you want to do and how you want to dress, because it's not just a matter of find something that fits. If you're a big guy, wear vertical stripes, or if you're a skinny guy, wear horizontal stripes. It's not just about the rules, because again, there are very few things that are actually objective about aesthetics. The big thing, find your tribe, okay? Who are the people that you want to spend your time with? This has been referenced a few times in here, but who are your top 5? Who are the people that you want to actually be defined by? Who are the people that you want to aspire to be like? What do they dress like? What do they look like? Because every single tribe has a very different appearance. I mean, take something as simple as high school sports. What's the difference between my high school and the high school up the street? Geographic location. I mean, really, that's about it. You know, it's similar socioeconomic status, it's similar racial makeup. It's pretty dang similar. We just happen to live in different neighborhoods. But all of that is very much exaggerated by the fact that they have a different mascot. They wear different colors in their uniforms. And they do things differently that make them a different tribe. And so much of that tribe is signaled by what it is that they're wearing. Think about your experience in high school. The kids that all grouped together, did they all look the same? Was it really pretty easy to tell the difference between the guys who played football versus the guys who were out in the back getting high? How about the difference between the guys who were playing Dungeons and Dragons versus the guys who were, I don't know, playing lacrosse? Pretty easy to tell, right? And how do you tell that? By the clothing that they wear. That's how you signal to the guys who are in your tribe that, yes, I am part of your tribe, and to the guys who are not, that, no, I don't want anything to do with you. You're not part of my tribe. And so if you want to know how to dress, don't start with how to dress. Start with who you want to be, and then find out the way that the men that live that way, find out how they dress, and aspire to be like them aesthetically, and use that as a way to catalyze your desire to be like them in other more important ways as well. So I'll show you how this works for me, especially because tribe is something that is not just you. The beauty of tribe is that it's bigger than you. So I have 3 main tribes by which I define myself. The first is my church. This is Joseph Smith. He's the founder of the church. The second is my family. So it's me, my wife, my daughter and son. We've got the third on the way. And the third is the company that I'm part of. It's called Beckett and Rob. We do custom suits, and these two other guys are the founders. These are my 3 main tribes. When I do something, when I do anything, I don't just represent myself. I represent these groups. Your opinion of my family is already being determined by the amount of time that I've spent talking to you today. Your opinion of the company I represent, your opinion of the church that I'm part of, these are things that are determined, if you haven't had exposure to anything else, by what I do and by how I represent my tribe. Now, for a lot of guys, especially for young guys, that's how it was for me. That's terrifying. It's a lot of responsibility. But men are designed to thrive under responsibility. That's what we're supposed to do, is shoulder that responsibility and use it as a way to improve ourselves. And so one of the big benefits of tribe is not only is it bigger than me and I get the benefits of that as far as I'm protected or I'm represented, but it's bigger than me in that I have to be bigger and better than I would be if I were just left to my own devices. That's why family is so important. That's why country is so important. That's why even a group like this is so important, because you guys already feel more of a kinship with each other, especially if you've had the opportunity to talk to each other in between breaks, than you would have beforehand. This is already starting to become a tribe. And if you don't have one, I would say look to each other. Look to each other as a way to form that. But that's a big aspect. So how do you find your tribe? Right? We just have to keep diving deeper and deeper into this. Can you imagine if you were to wake up after being knocked out and you were in a raft in the middle of the ocean and that's your only view? What do? What direction do you head? What difference does it make, right? You don't even know what's the difference between swimming this way or that way or any other way. It's all just blue ocean. There's nothing to look at, right? There's no difference whatsoever. And a lot of times for a lot of guys, that's how it feels when I tell them, well, yeah, let's just start dressing better. Okay, well, what does that mean? Do I have to wear a suit like you do? Does that mean that I do like the streetwear thing and I buy a bunch of Jordans? Or, you know, do I have to dress like a motorcycle? Like, what does that mean? You know, there's so many different directions and so many different choices that most guys don't even know what to do with it. Okay, is it a little bit easier if you have a few different islands to swim to? What if you are right there in the middle? It's easier, right? But how do you know which island to swim towards? What if somebody told you that you would be happier at this island than at this one, or maybe at that one. Well then, yeah, that makes it easy. But at least you're narrowing it down and getting it even easier to do what you need to do as far as getting yourself taken care of and taking advantage of that growth. Okay, so that's all a tee up to the fact that I have 3 different islands I can help you guys swim towards. Okay? I've defined these as the 3 masculine style archetypes, and I'll help you guys understand what these are so that you can use them as a way to not only find your tribe, but develop your aesthetic. And again, these are all ways to just catalyze your desire for growth in more important areas. So the first of these is the rugged archetype. Now, as soon as I say the word rugged, you probably already know what I'm thinking about. A rugged man is someone who is defined by his relationship with the physical world. These are guys who bend nature to their will. These are the guys who are the lumberjacks and the cowboys. They're the iron workers, and they're the rugged individualists. A rugged guy is someone who is capable of fitting the old school, traditionally American definition of masculinity. Now, if you fall in this way, there's definitely an aesthetic that goes with it. I do not represent that aesthetic at all, right? Bravo represents that aesthetic very well. It's a very good representation of the rugged aesthetic. Okay, let's say that you don't fall into that. Let's say that you are someone who is better defined by your relationship within the social or even the financial world. That's the refined aesthetic. These men are men who shape the world in their image based on their relationships with other people, based on their relationships with society, based on what they're able to do financially and through social status and through civilization. Okay? The refined guys are the guys who are the bankers or the 9-to-5ers to even some extent. These are the guys who are the media moguls and the men who helped build the entire Western world that we even live in, okay? Again, very much an aesthetic that goes with that. But let's say that you don't fall in with either one of those. The third one is rakish. So we've got rugged, refined, and rakish. Now the rakish archetype, the rakish man, is defined by his rebellion. He's the kind of guy who likes to break the rules. He's the guy who likes to, my mother-in-law calls it, throw rocks at squirrels. He just likes to get a reaction out of people. You know what I mean? The rakish guy just loves to be a little bit dark triad, even though it's not necessarily super Machiavellian. He's the kind of guy who, and he certainly could be, but the moral rake is someone who just likes to break the rules a little bit. He's defined by being a rebel, he's defined by going against the grain, and he's happy to take on that social risk and feel like he's on his own as opposed to having to follow the way that the rest of the world works. Now, if you want to know where you fall within that, because that's the biggest thing, is knowing which one of those 3 islands to swim towards. Once you find that, then you can start to double down even more because there are sub-tribes even within there. You can start to find who the men are that fit within that archetype, and then you can start to build yourself that way. What's fun is when you realize that you actually have an element of all 3, and then you start to play with them a little bit. I'm kind of a mix of refined and rake, which is why I'm wearing a sport coat, even though it's stupid hot under these lights. But it's bright yellow, right? Like, I'm not wearing this if I'm going to a board meeting in New York City, but I'm certainly going to wear this for an event like this or if I'm at a men's show in Florence, Italy. Because for me, it's the right balance of who I am, who my audience is, who my tribe is, and how all those things work together. That's why I can wear something like this and feel comfortable in it and look confident in it. Because I am using this clothing as a way to externally express what I want you to know and respect about me and what I know and respect about myself. If you know all this, if you have the understanding of the philosophy behind your clothing, if you understand the approach of power versus appeal, you understand where you fall within those archetypes, then you're no longer being worn by your clothing. It's no longer just a neutral, and you certainly don't ever look cute. What you do is you convey a sense of power, you convey a sense of confidence, and a sense of charisma that people will pick up on before a word ever crosses your lips, before eye contact is ever made, or before they ever know anything else about you. And again, it can either buoy up and exaggerate the things that are communicated through your posture and your body language, or it can work to contrast it. But I'll tell you that when you have your style down pat and you know that it's perfectly communicating what you want it to, you can't help but stand a little bit taller. You can't help but project your voice a little bit better, to hold deeper eye contact, because you feel like you're actually expressing your genuine self to the rest of the world, and it makes you feel bulletproof. It's pretty cool. So if you want to know where you fall within those 3 archetypes, I've got a little quiz, 7 questions. It's really easy. It's really different, especially because most guys, when they think of style, they don't necessarily think of what do I do with you know, would I rather live in the 1920s or ancient Greece? Or would I rather work on an oil rig or in a law firm? But those are the kind of questions that I ask, and I use those to help you guys understand what it is that you should actually be aspiring to when it comes to your aesthetics. And this is where you can check out my social stuff. I've left quite a bit of time, but it's because I usually get a lot of Q&A when we go through this. So I will call it at that and then open it up for questions. So thank you guys for your time. Yeah? Say that again? Go back a slide? Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, guys, who's got questions? Because I know those come up.
All right. So say you know after the quiz what archetype you want to follow. What are some good resources that you can model those people and kind of get a sense of what outfits to wear or buy?
I give you some of that within the answer on the quiz itself. But the biggest thing is to try to understand, even just kind of in broader strokes, who those people are. A lot of it for me even comes down to media. You know, if I'm the refined guy, I will watch Bond movies, even old Bond movies. You'll watch something like Downton Abbey or something else where you can kind of stereotypically assume that that's what fits that archetype. And then from there you can start to dive in even further. A lot of it again comes down to even paying attention to what the men who you would consider to be a hero as far as in other aspects, the way that they are with their business or with women in their life or anything else that you're aspiring to. See if you can figure out where they fit within those archetypal ratios. It's kind of like the OODA loop, where you just observe and then you orient and you go through there. And then that way it helps you get to where you're used to seeing it, and then you can start to see what you emulate, what you want to emulate, and then you can abandon what you don't want to. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Hey. With so much of your following being online, obviously your style and everything is exaggerated because people don't have that opportunity to connect with you in person. So is that something you're very mindful of with your like online and on your various platforms? Is that something you think about?
That's a great question. Let me just reiterate it to make sure I understand what you're saying.